Welcome to Overcome Yourself, the podcast, where we rewrite stories, shift mindsets, and make dreams come true. I'm your host, Nicole. Let's get into today's episode. Hello there, and welcome back to the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I'm very excited to be here today with one of my amazing clients, and that is Miche. And I know Miche from actually Brenda's group. So I've interviewed Brenda. You can go check out her episodes. And so we've had the pleasure and the opportunity of getting to share some stories and get to play and do some acting together inside that group. But today, Micha is going to be talking to us about something very cool that she does, and that is spoon bending. And you can check that out on her website. I made the graphic for that, so go check that out. But for right now, what I want you to do, Micha, is please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and who you help.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nicole. I'm happy to be here. My name is Miche Mizner. I'm a healer, energy worker, spiritual mentor, life coach. And I started all of that because I needed all of that starting out. So, like you're your own best client. They say, if you're a doctor, you shouldn't work on yourself. But I think for coaches, particularly we're usually our own client, or our clients are sort of a version of us, uh, sort of coming along behind, right? So a lot of my work is to help people get through the kind of stuff that I got through uh, in shorter order, with less struggle and with some support. So for me, I was only 5 years old when I got the message that I was supposed to save the world. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know how I got that, but I took it really seriously, and it didn't come with instructions. So I felt really lost. And I contribute a lot of my years of depression and sense of failure and not being able to, sort of perform what I was here to do with, that message that I got. And so struggled a lot with depression, and felt like no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. No matter who I helped. I was busy helping other people really before I could help myself, and finally realized that, needed to really start at home. And so consequently have gone through a lot of work, uh, coaching and therapy and groups and self-help and meditation and so many things to really try to help myself deal with my own lack of self-love and self-worth issues. I felt like if I couldn't do this mission, whatever enormous mission that was, that I didn't even deserve to be here. So I've had to kind of work through that and finally come to understand that I'm here just the way I'm supposed to be. That actually, I did initially, I thought the message was like, you go figure out what you need to do and go save the world. And, through different gyrations and growth and whatever, I think now it's, if there was a message, it was probably more like, hey, the world kind of needs help. And I think putting you here now and having you just be you is going to help. So go go out there, do your thing. So my thing now is to be myself, and just express and be and love and enjoy, and to help other people do the same thing for themselves, not in my way but in their way. So I like to say also I'm like a self-love and superpower coach, helping people to really appreciate who they are in all the ways that our cultures, and our society might want us to sort of lock those things off so that we fit into some slot or some box. But that's the magic that we came in with, the very things that we're trying maybe to get rid of or squash or change or be like somebody else. Being ourselves is it. It's the job. Be yourself, uh, and just share that joyfully, I think, and be love. So that's who I am. That's what I do. And one of the ways I do that is, quirkily enough, by teaching people how to bend spoons using, still using their hands. I don't teach you how to like look at it and make it fall over, sort of like the, men whispering to goats thing. Um, but uh, to pay attention to what's going on inside yourself and to find a place of flow and acceptance and self-love and connection with who and what is around you, and to be able to then use your hands and your mind to bend something, stainless steel spoon, uh, often just bend it in half with ease that you couldn't at the start of the workshop bend at all. And I use that as, well, it's more than a metaphor. It's a very real, tangible experience of how powerful we are when we can, on one hand, get out of our way, and on the other hand, get into our flow, and what we're capable of, and how important what we say to ourselves, what we believe, the self-talk that we're running, how much that affects our own internal experience and self, and also the world that we're living in, very, close up, like a spoon in your hand, or, bigger world. So that's in a very large nutshell, that's what I'm about.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Talk to me about the spoon bending because that's very interesting. Can you tell us how you stumbled into that? Like, how did you discover spoon bending? Like, that's, I mean, I remember seeing it in the Matrix, but I didn't know that people did that. So,
Right.
can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and I don't think I saw The Matrix until quite a few years after I bent my first spoon, so I didn't even have that sort of reference of, there is no spoon. But yeah, well, even from early childhood, I was interested in all sorts of like paranormal and ESP things and whatever. So I used to go to the used bookstore and comb through their shelves or their shelf, So like back then it was like a shelf, and look for podcasts later on. And I worked self-employed as a jeweler. Still do that. There's a lot of, I have my hand in a lot of different things. I've been a jeweler for 50 years, but somewhere in the midst of that, I would like to listen to, well, dating myself, I would listen to cassettes, right? Like Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, and I would listen to, personal development and whatever. And there was this one podcast that I found called News for the Soul, by Nicole Whitney, who I actually wound up having my own show on her radio station for a while years later. That was a great sort of serendipitous synchronicity story of its own. But she was selling a spoon bending kit, and I was bending metal, with hammers and, you know, tools and stuff. And so the idea of being able to bend it with my mind seemed like a great thing. And I used to listen to these people that you would interview having all these amazing experiences of, astral travel and beings coming to take you on a tour of the cosmos, and um, law of attraction things, all these things happening, which, I believed in. I believed what I was hearing, but I wasn't really seeing and feeling it myself.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I bought her kit, which basically was a set of instructions. You had to provide your own spoon, and I bent a
Mhm.
spoon. And so to me, that became like the touch point of these stories, these things that I was hearing about, but not having firsthand experience. Now I had, literally firsthand experience of being able to like make a shift like that. And that was in, like, I don't know, 2006 or something. And at the time, then I tried to share it with friends, family, whatever. Nobody else was able to do what I did. And so that was weird. And I just put it aside. About 10 years later or so, I was teaching psychic skill building in a meetup class. And I hadn't been spoons like all that time. And I, just dropped in divine inspiration, like, go get some spoons.
Mhm.
So I went to the local thrift store, got some spoons, brought it to my class, and most everybody was able to bend their spoons, including myself. And the light bulbs went off of, oh my God, what did I just do? And I understood in that moment how it was a bridge, not just for me to see what was possible, but to be able to share that with other people. And so it's been about 10 years now that I've been teaching this, mostly online, but sometimes in person. I've taught hundreds of people how to find that sort of sweet spot within themselves to make something else happen that they would have thought, well, that they proved to themselves in a moment before that apparently couldn't happen, and then make it happen. And I use that as a vehicle to bring in all these other ideas for people who maybe uh, never even heard about law of attraction, or what you think about it grows, and how our intention and attention affects things, and how everything is energy and all these different things. It's just I can like throw almost any of that into the spoon bending workshop and then have people, not everybody, but the majority of people most of the time, bend a spoon during the workshop and have this experience for themselves of like, wow, of being able to harness some of the more that we are, and then talk about how to apply that in everyday life. Because spoon bending in and of itself is pretty cool and fun, but my purpose for it is then how do you shift life? How do you bend life? How do you pay enough attention to your own internal state of mind and state of being that you can shift that and harness it to live your best life and to create magic as you go.
That's amazing. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that not everyone necessarily can do it. Um, like it's not a given, right? Like this is
Right.
something that you're gonna have to actually work on, and you're gonna have to have some faith in it, to make it work, right? And then if it doesn't happen, that's okay. Maybe you weren't ready right now. Maybe you could try again. But there's, I think that that's kind of cool that it's not just a given that you're just gonna do it. Like in the beginning, you try it, does it work? And then you do something. I don't know, the magic happens. You make the magic happen, and then you can bend the spoon. So something that I ask a lot of guests, my foundational thing is gratitude. Does gratitude play any part of this spoon bending slash life bending process? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Right. Of course. Yeah, it does. And you know, um, and maybe you will and maybe you won't. I always tell people like, if you do, it's great, and if you don't, you're still an amazing being. And I feel like we're divine beings having a human experience, and so in there's gratitude for everything that we're experiencing. There's gratitude for the ability to just show up and notice and be aware of what's happening in our lives. Um, and Yeah, I mean, I think I frame it more around self-love and appreciation, but it's, gratitude for that. That you can't really bend a spoon if you're in resistance, or if you're in pushing against, if you're not, if you're trying to force something to happen, right? And to me, gratitude is an acceptance of whatever is. It doesn't mean you necessarily want to stay with whatever is, but you're I'm not even surrendering, but you're accepting. You're being present, and you're, um, I grateful to be here, having this life and having this experience, and whatever it is, and then to know that you can shift it. Again, also with gratitude. And so, there was a guy, Jack Hauk, years ago in like 60s or 70s, who used to run these psychokinesis parties where he would teach people how to bend spoons and whatever. And his part of his way, it wasn't there, but I've seen some video clips, and he would have people shout at them at the forks and the spoons, and bend, bend, bend. And to me, part of it was like, no, I appreciate the spoon. I'm going to ask you for permission. I'm going to say, hey, what if we do a different dance and have a different experience together? So in that sense, there's gratitude even for that. I have people start off with their spoons, come with several spoons, and ask the spoons, do you want to bend? And so there's gratitude for a relationship in there, of energy, and um, always just so much appreciation for what people are bringing in the workshop too. Anytime that people share what's going on, what happened? You just bent it. What happened? What was happening in your mind? You can't bend it. What's going on? Because we get in our own way. And so, um, one of the things about the workshop and why I do them live, uh, and rarely share the recordings unless you've been on the call, is because I want to help people find their way. They just don't always find it either, but it has to do with, you know, being at peace in yourself and being willing to release the outcome. And to me, all of that is wrapped up in what gratitude and having gratitude is about in your life. So, yeah.
That is, I love it. I love everything you talked about. It's so profound. And even having gratitude when it doesn't necessarily work like we thought it was. like we thought it would. Kind of like a hero's journey, right? So even if we don't get the prize, we can still appreciate the journey and we can still appreciate the transformation that took place. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, that's the spoon bending workshops are very much about that. It's yeah, the end result you want to bend a spoon, and the learning and the self awareness that happens as you're trying to bend the spoon or applying yourself to bend the spoon. To me, that's where really the goal is to see what comes up. You know, when you're facing a challenge, what are you saying to yourself? What's the inner monologue, or what is getting away? How can we notice that? Because if you don't notice it, you can't do anything about it. Notice it and then work with it. Sometimes it's just sort of slip it out of the way and be like, yeah, nah, inner critic, not so much right now. You just sit over here, we're going to do this. And sometimes it's noticing, wow, every time I come up with a challenge, if I can't do it right away, I immediately tell myself, I I suck. Or I tell myself, well, I just can't do it. And what if you just change the language and change the approach? And so it's like the struggle, or I won't use the word failure, but the attempt to try something and not get the result that you're looking for. That's where we learn and grow, if we're kind to ourselves and loving in the process, right? If we're going to get mad or nasty with ourselves, and I know I've been
Mhm.
there, done that, that's not where growth happens. That's where contraction happens. So,
Because there is no spoon. This is not about the spoon.
right. It's not about
It's
the
not.
spoon.
It's all about what's going on in here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's beautiful. I love that. I love how it comes back full circle, how we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Now, before we started recording, you mentioned that you had a very special gift for our listeners. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep, I do. It's guided visualization that leads people into, and again, Mix, the thing about spoons is what else is possible, right? If I can do this, what else is possible? So this meditation, this visualization, it takes people into internally into a space where we can begin to open up to possibilities beyond our imagining. Because if we stick with just what we imagine, then it's our own sort of inventory of what we think is possible. But what is possible is so vastly beyond that. So part of what it does is open you to, like, that's what's possible, to come to a state of openness and curiosity and allow the universe to show you what's possible and to bring that into your life. I think it's only 10 or 15 minutes long, so it can be easily done anytime. You can do it over and over. It's not just a one-off thing. You can try to apply it to different, if you feel stuck on something, you can bring that to it. Um, and it can, open new doors and bring new possibilities and shift your life. So and
That.
fun. Yeah.
And then how can we stay in touch with you, like on social media?
Right. You can find me pretty much whatever social media it is. My handle is Miche Shines. So whether that's Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok, even, I think I'm there. But
All of them. Doesn't
Miche
matter where you
Shines,
are. Find
right?
Miche Shines.
Find Miche Shines, and and my website, as you will know because you built it for me, is micheshines.com. So you can find me there. You can find out the different work I do, programs that I offer. Uh, and I think, yeah, even we've got links to my jewelry making there as well. Been, like I said, custom jeweler for over 50 years. And some of what I do, actually, somebody was recommending recently that I started making spoon rings and bracelets and stuff, but not with the ones that I bend. But if you come to a workshop and you bend a spoon or something, and unless you want to just put it on your mantle or your dresser, you could send it to me and I could make you a spoon ring or a necklace or something. So
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
yeah, you can find it all at micheshines.com, or connect with me on Facebook. Also have a Facebook group I would love to invite you to, Pillars of Light Alliance. And you just look that up and find me there. So thank you.
Awesome. And all of those links are going to be available down in the show notes, so make sure to check down there. Awesome. Um, all right, now final tip. Like what is one of those big tips that you have like as we're um looking to bend the spoon, right? We're learning about bending the spoon. What's like that biggest aha moment that your clients get? What do you tell them?
That, it's the way into that is different for each person. And so to be present and aware with yourself and allowing, right? And to try not to, think, okay, I'm going to bend and it's going to go this way. And then suddenly you might feel some urge to do something else, to turn it a different way. Follow that, go with that. And that in general, in life, the big tip is, as far as I can tell, self love is the greatest superpower that you could ever have. And that will be well applied anywhere in your life.
I love that. That is amazing. Self-love is your superpower.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, especially in our world, right? Yeah, and it's kind of like putting your own gas mask on first before you help someone else. Like you gotta love on you first.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much, Miche. This has been just such an amazing episode. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Thank you. And we'll catch you guys next time on the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for tuning in to Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Stay bold, stay grateful, and keep becoming your best you. For more information and resources from me, Nicole, head over to nicoletexberry.com/resources. See you next time.